I went from being a security guard who was making $8.50 an hour to learning one skill that allowed me to make six figures by the time I was 23 and multiple six figures by the time I was 30. And it wasn't that hard. It's not rocket science. It's not the hardest thing in the world. But first and foremost, I want to tell you my backstory. When I was younger, I never was an ambitious kid. I didn't even know what I wanted to do in life, honestly. The main thing that I thought that I was going to do was just live at home with my mom and play video games. Now, as a grown man, that sounds embarrassing. But the reality of the situation is that I never thought about being ambitious or thought about starting a business or learning a skill, period. And I don't know why I never thought about that, but I just didn't. But the time that I became awoke to realizing that I had to learn a skill and I had to do something was when my mom lost her house. And when she lost her house, I was damn near homeless. I'm from Queens, New York. I was living in this like abandoned house on Jamaica Avenue. I used to have to there was locks on the chain locks on the doors that I used to have to open to get in. There was no insulation in the house. I couldn't take showers there or a bath there. I used to have to take a bath at the LA Fitness in New York. And then on top of that, when I would go to sleep there, I used to have a generator that would power up my blanket in the wintertime. And the generator was like a battery generator that I would plug this heated blanket into, right? And I had no one to help me or anything like that. And so that's when I started to realize that I had to wake up and learn the skills that I needed in order to change my life. But had I never went through that experience, I probably still would have been lazy, if I'm being honest. So life has a mysterious way of waking you up and making you come to certain conclusions, making you realize that as a man, when shit hits the fan, you gotta step up, right? And so when I was going through this, I was working as a security guard. I was working 3 jobs, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I was working at this job that was a biotech company, or biopharma, I should say. And there was a whole bunch of engineers there. And I remember I was talking to this one engineer, and I was telling her that I needed to do something, but I didn't tell her my story or what I was going through. Because I was trying to go to college at the same time, right? Don't get me wrong. I was trying to go to college, but not because I wanted to, but because my mom forced me to. And I was going to college to be a lawyer, but that just wasn't working out, and I had to drop out, right? And so, I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I was asking I was a security. I was asking the girl who was an engineer that used to sit next to me if it was possible for me to get an engineering job without me having to go to school. And she told me to learn something called AutoCAD. So I learned it. And she was so surprised that I was able to learn it so quickly because it took her a long time to learn it. But for me, it was natural. It was pretty easy. And after I learned it, I started going online, looking up how to get an engineering job with AutoCAD experience without a college degree. And I found a video that said, do not become an engineer, do this instead. It was about digital marketing. And so that's when I decided that I was going to learn that because I just wanted to take a leap of faith. So I spent $97 on a course, and that course helped me learn this skill, which changed the trajectory of my life. And now I've been able to, this is the apartment building that I live in. This is the lobby area, but not lobby, but the library is what it's called. And I drive a Lexus IS 350. And before this, I was actually living in a fancier apartment. I just came here because it's low key. I actually live at the place across the street from here, which is still nice. I parked my car over here, so that's why I'm over here. But anyways, you don't care about that. What am I getting at? Essentially, I went through a whole bunch of ups and downs to realize what I had to do to change my life. And once I learned these skills, it changed my life forever, and I couldn't be grateful enough for it because at the time when I was going through the stuff that I was going through, I was dating this girl, and I remember I was so embarrassed because prior to that point in my life, I had a nice place I could have took her. The house that I lived in was nice, but we lost it. And after we lost it, I had nowhere to take this girl. And when you're young, that really hurts you, honestly. That's really embarrassing. It's not something that I would wish on anyone, but it's something that I had to go through to realize who I had to become. And so I learned SEO, I learned digital marketing, and now all I do is I get clients, I run ads for them, which anyone can do. It's not rocket science. And I also do something called SEO for them, which is essentially like advertising. It is advertising at the end of the day. It's just more of a technical advertising thing. And it's super simple. Like, none of this stuff is hard. And, you know, digital marketing changed my life. And I know there's so many people that have a negative connotation with it because of your associative memory, because that's how we are as human beings. Like, I study a lot of psychology, and I understand how when we have a negative experience with one thing, or we see something too much, and we see like scammers, because there's a lot of scammers in the digital marketing industry, I'm not gonna lie to you. There's a lot of them. But when we see that, we start to associate that with the norm of that industry. And the reality of the situation is, when I started, there wasn't a lot of people like that. Now you have a whole bunch of kids that's saying that they make all this money per month and they work remote, and they're all lying to you. And the worst thing about it is that they're telling you that they did this without ever having a job. See, where my story is different is I actually learned digital marketing. I did get clients. I was getting paid a lot when I first got into this. But for me, I was just more so afraid to run a business. I didn't know how to run a business. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted a job. So I used all the clients that I had to then go pitch myself to get a job. And I figured that if I got a job, I could learn a lot more, and I could learn more on someone else's dime, right? It made sense. So that's what I did. And so that means, like, if I made a mistake, I didn't have to worry about the client really getting mad at me. Like, yeah, they'd get mad at me, but the company would take the heat for it. So I was more comfortable with that. So I got a job, man. And there's so many digital marketing jobs out there that you can get that pay so much money. You can work remote from anywhere you want in the world. And I got a job, and then I ended up like working my way up to the top of corporate. I started doing SEO and just marketing overall, consulting for large brands like Chase Bank and Aetna and Cigna and Blue Cross Blue Shield. And if you see my name on TikTok, you can actually go look me up on LinkedIn to see that everything I'm telling you is true. But I started working with them, and then I said, okay, I'm gonna go independent. You know, at my last job that I had, I was making upward of 180 plus bonuses and stuff like that, and I was a director, and I was like giving everyone instruction and telling people what to do and blah 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 blah. It was a lot of work. And ultimately I said to myself, I just want to do this by myself. And so, like, and then I did, and now I have clients that I work with and stuff like that. But the moral of the story is, you can change your life at any point in your life, and you shouldn't let anything stop you from changing your life, right? Like, you shouldn't let negative beliefs hold you back from accomplishing what it is that you want to accomplish and who it is that you aim to be, because you can become whoever you want to be. So that's my story. That's it. I never made a video like this on this platform. And yeah, if you want help or you need advice, just hit me up in the DMs. Later.